Good morning, Raiders. This is Ezron. Welcome to my Bastion. It is the morning Eastern Standard Time on June 4th, and today I am going to talk about the Hurndig Fusion. Hopefully everyone has seen Plarium's announcement of the 4.30 patch, which I think the community generally expects to show up next Tuesday, so that would be approximately June 8th. And as part of that, we will get the Hurndig Legendary Attack Dwarf Fusion. Today I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about how I prep and give everyone a few pointers on what I think is going to happen and how you can hopefully get the fusion with the least amount of difficulties and headaches as possible. Now, here is what I am predicting that we will have to do for the fusion. And mind you, this is entirely my prediction based on what Plarium announced in terms of the new champions we had. And I modeled this very closely on the Pixneal Fusion. That was a very similar announcement where we had one epic of every affinity and then 4 new rares, which were repeated 4 times to get each epic. Now, mind you, this is clearly a Photoshop that I did. I didn't include the affinity indicators or the ascension requirements. I'm expecting that all of the rares will have to get to level 40 and ascended 4 times, and all of the epics will need to get to level 50 and ascended 5 times in order to fuse Hurndig. And I'm expecting it'll be just over 2 weeks to do so. Now, this, of course, like I said, is entirely my prediction. Plarium has certainly done some unusual things in the past couple of fusions, some of which were very difficult, like Under Priest Brogni, some of which were significantly easier. So we'll see where we go here and whether or not my predictions are true. Now, here is what I recommend people do today, Friday, assuming that you will need to start executing the fusion on Tuesday. The first thing to do, of course, is decide what your goals for the fusion are, then think about your resources, create a plan for what you're going to do, and then be ready to adjust the plan when the actual fusion lands in the client on Tuesday. That's where you need to actually figure out the order of which you do things, what events you'll go hard into, which ones you'll try to avoid if possible, and just fine-tuning the plan. Now, in terms of goals, obviously Hurndig, the Dwarf Legendary, is the big goal here. But, not every account is that developed and can do everything. I would say don't overlook Horafes. He's really good for Skinwalkers, and personally on my account, my Skinwalkers is a very weak faction. And so my goal of the fusion is to both get the legendary and then do enough extra work to get a second copy of Horafes the Tusked. Now, I don't even know if it will be possible given how the fusion is set up, but several of the other fusions had that possibility where if you went pretty deep into the either Champion Chase or Summon Rush, the summoning events, that you could get another copy of one or more of the epics. I'm hoping Plarium continues with that plan, and I'll end up with 2 things out of the fusion. The other epics are, can be very good based on what your account is. I just don't know that those factions for me are as important. The rares are sort of hit or miss. If that's all you can do in your account, I certainly recommend that you think about what you can do for them. But I think for anyone with, a mid-game to end-game account, hunting rares isn't necessarily great for advancing what you can do in the game. Now, in terms of resources, if you haven't already started saving, now is the time. Next week, I believe, should be a double Sacred Shard event, at which, so normally those things are about 3,000 points. That's 6 Sacred Shards. Start collecting brews and certainly save them if you run across any. Most fusions have 2 artifact enhancement events, so you can need 6 to 8 million typically per event, so that's why I'm saying 15. Any more than that is a bonus. I think for either Underpriest, Brogni, or Yoshi, there were 3 artifact enhancement events. So if that's the case, you'll need even more silver. I am starting to save energy this afternoon and plan to have 1,500 to 2,000 on Tuesday. That means essentially over the weekend I will do the bare minimum I can do, just do my daily quests and my advanced quests, and you get about 570 energy a day out of them, less the 50 energy that you're required to spend in your daily quest, and then a little bit more for if you have to get artifacts out of dungeons. Save experience potions if you have them. Certainly that shortcuts the amount of energy and time you need when you are doing the champion events during the fusion. And then of course, gems you can exchange for energy or silver, which it's not really recommended to do for silver, or shards should you need them. Also, now's the time, if you have some duplicate champions, level them up and get them ready to go for the needs of ascension and level and ranking up your champions. Also, don't overlook the prep event. We're going to talk about that in a second once I go through the rest of the things that I'm going to recommend and hope people have already thought about. Here's the plan. This is, a copy of the Pixneal plan, which I based this on, and thanks to a Yumi Love for taking a screenshot of this. I'm assuming that there will be a Dungeon Divers and or Champion Training event to start, along with 1 dungeon. A couple days later, you'll get what should be the first Artifact Enhancement event, and then about halfway through either the Champion Training or another Dungeon Divers will start. The middle of the calendar is also when arena events and the second or third dungeon grind happens. I'm going to expect it is a summon rush next weekend because of the rotation of the 2x and 10x events, and then it will be a champion chase at the end, which will be a 10x summon. I intend to mostly use void shards for the summon rush because I have sacreds ready to go for the other event. That's it in terms of where I think we are with planning and prep. Here's one thing I did want to talk about right now is the prep event, or sorry, the warm-up event as it's called. You can get 15 points a day, and you get points by upgrading artifacts. Now, getting all 4 days full of artifacts I think is very important because you get in here some extra energy that you can then save to use during the fusion. You get some chickens you can use to rank your champions. You get XP boost that you can use to make farming and for the champion events easier, as well as gems. That's enough for an entire energy refill. And some skill tomes, which were always in short supply. So what I do for that is I go into my artifacts, of which I tend to carry a lot. Like here's a good example. I got this set of Cruel gloves from Clan Boss this morning. Crit rate gloves with speed and crit damage substats. I roll these up to 4, and I will roll them probably again here. I will do it right now. I will roll them to 7, and I will look for a bunch of artifacts that have questionable or semi-good, semi-bad substats. I'll roll all of them up to 7, so then when the artifact enhancement event comes around, it will be easy to identify them. It should be then an easy roll to get to 8. Like in this case, if we hit on speed or crit damage again, I will roll to 12. If we hit on flat hit points or resistance, I may or may not, depending on the specifics of the artifact. So here's a good example of things that I may or may not want to roll up. Like here we go. A set of hit point speed gloves with speed and attack. I will roll these to 8. Actually, I'll roll them to 7 right now. So it matches the pattern of what we're going to do, and then I can identify later. This will be another, I think, 4 points in the Fusion Prep event. Like, there we go. I got attack. Not so awesome. I really would have liked to get speed there, but it's not the end of the world because these can still be okay gloves if it hits 8 for speed. If it hits 6 for speed, it'll probably sit in my vault. I don't know that I would sell them just because they're 6-star speed gloves with a speed substat, but it certainly isn't as desirable if it hits speed 2 times. This also then, yeah, like I said, gives me the ability to, when I filter, I'll look for anything that's rolled up to 7, and it will have easy identification and be ready to go come the artifact enhancement event. Like, that's probably not such a good one. I might sell that anyway. Let me see if I can find a good example. Like, yeah, here's a good example. I'll upgrade this to 7 right now. Just so we have, either speed or crit damage here on a crit damage set isn't bad. Either you go faster or you hit slightly harder. So that is not a bad thing. If it hits speed again, it's good. If it hits crit damage again, it's good. My account isn't yet to the point where I throw out rare artifacts just because they're rare and not epic or legendary. If your account is, in that situation, you probably have a good handle on how things work as it is. So this is Ezron, and hopefully you thought or you found some new things here that you hadn't thought of before. And like I said, we've got 4 days. That gives you the ability to get 1,500 to 2,000 energy ready to go when the fusion starts. That's what I intend on doing, and that makes the first event or two typically very, very easy. You get the burn hard in the beginning, and then hopefully that means in the middle of the fusion you can either take it a little bit easier, or if something doesn't go your way, it gives you a little bit of a cushion. Check back and we'll see how correct my predictions were next week. This is Ezron signing off.